I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. The meeting is being recorded for the preparation of the minutes. Approval of September 3rd, 2014 minutes.
I wasn't at the meetings.
Motion to approve September 3rd, 2014 minutes.
Second.
And regularly moved and seconded to approve the minutes for September 3rd. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
I will abstain since I was not here.
Okay. Visitors.
Mr. Ward.
You're up.
I have the final, I don't know if y'all are aware or not, but the plans got delayed a little bit because your engineer requested, whatever that's called, like a sectional view of where this line's gonna be. So they had to go do a little bit more surveying to get the exact elevations. These have been submitted to your engineer electronically. The draw for this project is available, so I'm told as of today. As soon as that money hits my account, I'll bring the check down here. If the office isn't open, I asked Sam, he said I could drop it off with Helen for the escrow or whatever. And as soon as we get a permit, we're ready to, step one, we'll bore the line in. And Hake Mechanicals is gonna do the connections, both electronic and liquid, whatever, the plumbing connections and the electronic connections. We currently plan to do the digging ourselves, just walking the track over there and digging the pit for the pump itself. Of course, the contractor, Tim, will be involved in that. If for some reason that's not acceptable machine-wise or something, Kim Lanker is on board to also get involved if need be. JWF, I think is the name of the company, the boring company out of Mechanicsburg. The pump is sourced, it's in a warehouse in Baltimore. We're gonna pick that up ourselves. The boring company said right now their schedule, they're like 3 to 5 days lead time. They said it'd be a 2-day job, assuming they don't hit the one piece of granite that probably is on my property that I've never found. I've dug holes.
Well, how do you know it's there then?
Because it's my luck. I've dug holes up there with backhoes and shovels and everything. I've never hit a rock any bigger than that. But roots are the problem, usually, not rocks.
Well, knowing the old guy that had that, I imagine there's been a lot of stuff pushed around in there years and years and years ago.
Actually, funny, we've never found anything that was of any issue.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If anything, it'd be more of just old fill and not maybe just normal dirt. I don't think back then probably didn't have much.
There's lots and lots and lots and lots of shale on that property. So time frame wise, I'll get the check down here in the next day, 2, 3, and as soon as it hits my account, and then of course we'll wait for the permit.
Okay.
And I would assume we're boring the line, so that's not going to involve any inspection for filling the hole in or anything, but obviously the pumping station and so
And the
forth.
tie-ins and everything.
Now, unless there's a problem with you all or the engineer, we're gonna put the electronics in the existing well pump house. That, not well pump, but sewer pump. The little.
The brick building.
Right, yeah, the little block building. This pump is gonna sit just off the edge of that building. I'd have to look to see it, but it's as far away as we had to make it to get the angle to come across, and
Let our engineer look at that, and he'll be able to go through if he has any questions or anything. After you get the escrow account, we'll allow him to look at it, stuff like that. You can talk to us. We may have some minor opinions if when we get a chance to look at it here that we go forward to him and it can all be addressed at one time, okay?
yeah, that's fine, because I
Be much easier and simpler instead of us.
I don't basically know what I'm looking at here anyway, so.
The only question and concern I have, and I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, is in regards to the existing site conditions and the conditions of those lines, which we have expressed concerns to previously.
Which I understand, but as it stands right now, this is, I mean, I hate to oversimplify it, but I think we gotta get this done first and try to move forward maybe, but this is about as much of a stretch as we've been able to pull off right now.
Because anything extra dumping into our system is, got the ability to cause us a bunch of grief and issues is what we're concerned about. And we've already made sure that we have sufficient capacity for you. Is there a flow meter anywhere in that?
The only thing I know is my engineer was in contact with your engineer during this whole thing to try to make this a once and done deal. Once and done deal. I told him everything that we had discussed here, that was in my notes. I haven't really looked these over because I don't, other than looking at the lines drawn on the map, I mean, I know what a line is, but as far as the second page, the pump specs and all the crap that's involved there, I don't know what any of that means.
Okay. Because there's no way for us to monitor what you are dumping into our system unless we put a flow meter in.
I understand,
Okay,
yeah, that was
and that's gonna be
discussed.
one of the concerns that as me as a board member, definitely has an issue with, because that's what we end up charging you on EDUs, and the limited amount of EDUs you were gonna have at that point, so. And if that means you gotta purchase more, or this and that and everything else, and then it comes into more issues and more money for you and more problems for us, so. I'll mention this to our engineer, and, make sure that there's something in there that we have a way of having checks and balances with this,
Okay.
okay? Because I feel that if we're not gonna have a test on your existing lines up there to prove that they are watertight, then we have to go about a different option. And then after that, we'll have the ability to address it accordingly.
Would you say those lines were 4-inch or 6?
They're primarily 4. There's,
That's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem televising that.
In count of what?
Televising, I'm sorry.
But that's on his side of the pump, so it's not our issue.
You're right.
The only issue we're worried about is the I&I,
Right.
and the flow meter will monitor that for us
That's
to
quick.
protect us from having an over usage in the system. Okay? Is there anything else you want? Okay, I'm gonna say leave the drawings here, we appreciate it. Glad to see things are moving along here with this.
It's in your packet. He didn't pick it up.
Next to the last page.
the letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on duty all week. I haven't been able to get to that post office yet. They said they're gonna bring it back out.
We did send a letter to you in regards to a, results here.
I'd say the 5th paragraph is the one that needs to be addressed.
Okay, PTMA has determined a final connection date of October 15th. If this date is not met, PTM will adhere to the section 4.01 of Penn Township Ordinance 101. This section states any person who shall violate this ordinance shall be liable upon summary conviction for the first offense and upon summary convictions for each subsequent offense to a fine of not less than $100, not more than $1,000, together with cost of persecution in each case. Each day that the violation shall continue shall be deemed and shall be taken to be separate offenses punishable by as such. PTMA has further determined you had no intentions of making the required connection at the time of issuance of the connection notice, and therefore PTO shall begin billing you a ready to serve charge of $60 per equivalent dwelling unit EDU. And you stated that you're going to have approximately 15 EDUs. Is that what you're figuring you're going to have?
No, I think it was 11.
11? Okay. I'm going to be standing corrected. When will you know for sure that the EDU count will be?
I have it counted. It was between 9 and 11. I think it stayed at the high side. I didn't come with that count tonight, but I can review it and make sure nothing's changed. Now, there might be an additional one if that lady that wants to sell, is hell-bent on selling tacos up there wants to, she's told me that she's gonna have to hook to the sewer at some point, but I told her that's on you, I'm not getting involved in that.
Okay. What is that letter in regards to that? What is your, how can I say, your intentions in regards to, well, the 15th probably not gonna be a possible thing at the present moment.
I would say that's probably a stretch at the moment. That being said, who knows? I mean, I bring a check down a day or so and the engineer says I've already looked at it and everything's fine, and we start boring, maybe, but I mean, that's pretty tight, I would guess. This was delayed by about 30-45 days because of that one thing we had to add, because I had to get a surveyor out there. This probably would have been presented to you, at least last month, if not sooner. I guess I couldn't really say with any accuracy right now because I don't have a permit.
Okay, say once everything's issued to you, what is your time frame before you have it online?
The driller, the bore guy said he can react to my order saying I want it done in 3 to 5 days, and it's a 2-day job. From the time that happens, of course, while that's happening, we'll go get the pump and it'll be offload, it'll be on site. I mean, from what Kim Lanker tells me, and Richard up here, this isn't all that big a deal. I mean, it's digging a big pit for the pump, getting the bedding material in there and leveled and all that. They act like it's not that big an issue, but I'm not doing it.
Right, and I understand that. I think as authority members are looking for, we're looking for a realistic date that you're asking for, because we already have a letter forwarded to you in regards to.
And what's that dated, October 15th?
Yes.
2 weeks from today.
Oh, October, I'm still thinking September. Oh, that's obviously not gonna happen then.
Mm-hmm.
How about the end of the month, Mike?
I would say we could shoot for the end of the month right now. Obviously, from the time of issuance of the permit, that may or may not have to be adjusted. If the permit's issued quick, I mean, we're basically ready to go. Putting the line in is gonna take a lot less time than digging it.
Our next meeting will be November 5th, for everybody on the board. Does the board wish to do anything in regards to amending our letter? What?
I originally thought the end of the month, end of October. Once we knew there was money available.
My thoughts are, if he is not connected by November, our next meeting, our November 5th meeting, then we start levying the fines.
Yes.
That's just my thoughts. I mean,
That's 15 days longer than what our agreement is that the letter says. That gives you a bit more time to hook up.
we've been dealing with
Somebody else
this.
has a different time frame that they'd like to discuss here, please mention it and bring it up.
Like I said, I don't know exactly what to ask for at this point. I think I might ask for, accept that as it stands, barring an unforeseen whatever, and then I'll have to I'll give Sam a call in between. I mean, I don't have to wait for the next meeting. And let them know, well, we did hit that granite, or whatever the hell it is. You know, it's the wrong pump, we gotta, get that shipped, I don't know, whatever, eventualities.
Can you give Sam a weekly update as to where you are?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've pretty much kept Sam
Okay,
up to
well, I
date.
figured that, but, we're getting into crunch time.
Yeah.
And
Because now we're looking at cold weather, and here we go again. We're not gonna be able to do it for another couple months. I can see this coming.
Is
I don't think that's gonna
anybody
happen.
else have any issues with the direction that Mr. Fox suggested? Or would you sooner have it at the end of October?
Well, we don't meet till the 5th, so.
I'm saying, Jim mentioned the end of October.
End of October is 4 weeks,
And
the
if he's not
29th is
connected
4
by,
weeks.
if he's not connected by our November 5th meeting, then we take action.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
He actually has 5 weeks from now if we do it for the November meeting,
I second this motion.
okay? That's 5 weeks for you to get this connected and online without any repercussions or legal actions against us. Do you see a problem with that?
I don't see a problem with it, but as I said earlier, if there is a problem, I'll notify you before that time comes.
Okay?
And it will only be unforeseen
All right.
problems.
Basically, what we're doing is amending our letter that we have registered to you at the moment.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
To November 5th. Okay?
Will that not also require an updated letter to DEP?
Yes.
Yeah, for whatever it's worth, Sean Arbaugh is aware of what stage I'm at. I mean,
Okay.
I keep in touch
But
with him.
he's aware that we have sent a letter out in the
Right.
same level too, so we have to address that.
Yeah, that was ironic, because I called
31st.
Sam that day and said,
31st, right, is last
are you
day.
sending me a letter? Because I just got the drawings. It was like the day before or something, wasn't it, Sam?
Yeah.
So, I mean, strange timing, but there it is.
Okay. We have November 5th, our next meeting. And at that point, we will be taking action.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, it's been regularly
Not yet.
It's been regularly moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Copies of that can be had if you call Akins. I don't know if you can make copies of them. I know I can't.
Well, you already sent it electronically to our engineer, so he already
He did,
has that.
yeah.
Correct. All
Yeah.
we need is a check from you to get this thing moving.
Okay.
Okay?
Good enough.
Thank you.
Yep, we'll see you.
Oh, yeah.
Because he had picked it up. Yep. Okay. And next visitors.
Mr. Schaefer.
Nothing specific at this time, other than to comment on this last gentleman who was here, and I strongly agree with the meter. Don't let it connect without a meter, because you're gonna have all sorts of problems with that old system. And he should pay whatever that meter pumps, or whatever that meter says it pumps.
And then correct it.
As long as he pays, what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, he may not wanna pay that either.
Dig it up and put it in right.
Okay. Engineers report, Everybody has a copy of the engineer's report in front of him. The engineer is on vacation. And, I did not make Mr. Hill himself come up this evening due to the two things that were on it. Okay. Everything seems to be in line with the water system plant design. Things are moving along with it. We are still waiting for a notification from our grant money. Am I correct? We have not got.
That is correct.
We have not got no legitimate confirmations on anything that we can sink our teeth into to know that's for a fact yet. So basically, from the looks of it and sounds of it, we are getting close to the point that it is shovel ready, so to speak.
Where did I hear that before?
We might hit a big block of granite up there.
Market Street Bridge project is done. We are allowed to have connections to it at this time.
Did we get confirmation from Duncannon that there is availability in that wastewater treatment facility? And do we need to write them a letter requesting that?
I think we probably need to, yes.
I know we mentioned it last month at the JOAC meeting, but I don't think we took any action on
I
it.
think they verbally said there should not be an issue with that, but we
Yes,
need
you're
to
right.
have.
We need to we need a paper trail.
Yes,
Yeah.
we need written documentation before we proceed any further than that.
Considering High Street.
Yes. Can we see that we get a letter sent to Duncannon in regards to that?
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, that line is just a stub that is there, so there would be a little bit more work to it than just them hooking directly onto that. We would have to put a valve on our side of it so they could tie in, if you understand what I'm trying to say. It's just a stub over there at that moment, from what I understand. Okay, it needs to proceed a little bit further. Couple different things that we need to look at there. We can probably discuss about whether we would want to proceed to take that all the way across that parking lot with an easement, and how we would like to do that, and maybe do it all at one time in that area. You see what I'm saying?
Do we really want to do that? Grinder pumps are theirs.
I'm talking about for a future expansion,
Oh, okay.
because that line needs to be, that line will need to be, right now, that size of line is stuck out there. We need to put something out there and have a tap in for that. I think you're gonna find it's gonna be the issue.
I don't have a problem with it. I just
Okay,
couldn't.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
something I'm gonna throw out there, we may wanna address and discuss too.
Back to the letter for Duncannon, how many EDUs do you think we should ask for? 2, 3?
I don't know, I would imagine we'd probably be safe. to
I'd
ask
say at least 2.
At least, I would
Elmer,
say
you
2.
didn't turn
I
on
would
the
say
coffee
we ought to
pot.
go for 3.
No, I
There
didn't
needs to
even
be
do
a
that.
Road hog.
Road hog on there.
Yeah.
Why don't you go for one more, at least one more?
Okay.
That way we don't have to go back, if they need to make,
Right.
they decide to make an improvement on that whole complex to what's gonna change for them, because they will have the ability to make some modifications there. And they could be anything imaginable. So,
Talking about Duncannon, anybody ever respond to the Duncannon manager for throwing us under the bus on that sewer fiasco on the paper?
The only response that I know that went back to Duncannon was at the JOAC meeting.
Was she there?
No, she was not.
No, so I'm glad.
and
Tell her
those
we're
people,
not
those
happy with
people
her.
on that authority there understood it very well, and they did not have an issue with us.
Oh, did they?
So
They
there-
got it.
It wasn't our fault.
No, no
Somehow
hard
the
feelings between
program-
us and Duncannon.
The program didn't work, right?
Yeah, I
It
guess.
ain't us, it's her.
No matter what she tried to do, it didn't cause us any problem. okay?
No. What she did was covered her butt and threw us under the bus.
That's exactly what she did.
But it sounds like it's got changed a couple different times too, so. Anything else on the engineer's report?
Do you want to
Yes.
discuss Mr. Curlin's thing right now? Because I know that's down at new business, but it's sitting here with the engineer's report.
Would you guys want to
Yes,
address
I
that?
would
Yeah, let's-
like to address the authority on behalf of the planning commission
Okay.
on the Sunshine Hill project engineer's report. Part of what you might want to ask the engineer to do is split out some of the aspects of the plan that was submitted, such as the stream crossing, the amount of ground disturbed for phase one. I agree that in phase one, the amount of ground disturbed would be of a certain amount that, and the stream crossing would be part of it. But you might want to have phase one A and B, because what's going to happen up on top of the hill, the water storage towers, all that can happen without the stream crossing permit.
Correct.
Right now, because it's included in that, you're going to have the stream crossing permit to start working on the water tower. So look at that aspects of it as whether that's true or not, okay? Phase one was the whole line, everything on top of the hill and the line going down over. Maybe you could split that out a little bit. The amount of acreage disturbed in phase one is more acreage than we've got at the top of the hill. You know, the entire lot up there. So that complicates things maybe more than we would need it complicated to get started. That just might be something you might want to discuss with the engineer. You know, in some fashion, split that away from the improvements to the storage and treatment.
Yeah, the only problem with that is I see what you're saying, because with the stream crossing permit, it's a 120-day process for the permit, and there might be a possibility of us being able to proceed before that 120 days is up,
Yes.
but I wouldn't count on it.
Well, I don't know.
That's the only issue, because the stream crossing permit must be issued within 120 days.
I did not vote on any of the votes taken on the project by the planning commission, but I did involve myself in the discussions and informed them that the amount of acreage disturbed was more than we owned at the top of the hill. It includes all of the ground disturbance going down over. So if you would want to look at that in a different light, you might be able to proceed without additional delays maybe. That's all.
Okay, I will say something to him in regards to that.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but I thought
He's on
we just...
vacation. I'm just trying to figure out how I can make this all come together. I guess I'll have to get, probably have to, I'm assuming he's off just this week. Is that the interpretations you understood, Sam?
One more time.
You assume that Randy's only off for the week?
Yes.
Okay, that's the way I interpret it. I will make sure I send an email out in regards to that and have him get in touch with us immediately upon his return.
I mean, it'd be possible for me to discuss with Phil Hill if he wanted that earlier, but I'll do that.
I really don't see it's going to be an issue.
Okay.
I can turn around and send an email out attached to both of them in regards to where we're looking at here. If we think it's going to be beneficial, maybe he can come to our next meeting, or JOAC meeting, show up late for that for a short window. You know what I'm saying? We can focus on this 100%. If it's going to become a practical thing to do. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I know where you're going with this. If we get money and everything else, well, then maybe we can start sooner. If we don't have the money, then we can't start sooner. So you could be a matter of 30 days, take or give, and
Yeah, my purpose was to once again point out to you that during the planning commission, it came to light that there was more involved than
Right.
just the top of the hill.
Right.
Which
and most
would-
people are not privy to that. They think it's just the top of the hill and that's it.
Yes, they're looking
Yes.
at a disturbance of 2.5 acres or something like that.
Yep.
Okay.
I understand that, and that's probably something that us as an authority has not explained to everybody around. There's few people that understand it because we have the intention of putting a fire hydrant down at the lower end, but they don't think that fire hydrant's part of that phase one. They just think it's gonna happen. And that is part of phase one, the fire hydrant down along Butcher Shop Road. So I see your point in that, and that part would not need to be completed before we had the first part done, which the main goal is to get the water tower and the complex completed up there. So, okay, I'll say something to them, see where we're at. Is there a possibility that we can get in contact and find out where we possibly could be with our status with Amy Davis too? About when this is gonna come to maybe fruition, because that's gonna have a big
I guess we can
impact.
call her, but
Okay.
I mean, I think
I mean,
she's,
I'm assuming, how are we gonna understand this? Are they gonna contact us, or, I mean, we've seen stuff in the paper about Duncan and everybody else getting grant monies and everything from the county already, so I'm assuming something's gotta be happening close. We're either gonna get a yes or a no.
I think that money's coming out of a different pocket.
It's coming out of a different pocket, but I'm assuming that, you know, the county gets money pretty much from the same place too. It all trickles down, you know?
Maybe you only get notified if you win and you don't get notified, so you could be sitting around and,
Right, that's
Yeah.
the concern I have, so, okay.
Could get Karen to give her a call.
For just basically an update, that's all we're looking for, status update on it. Don't want to twist our arms and sound like a pain, but keeping us current and updated is pretty important. Anything?
Yeah, something else on the water system. This is from Perry County Conservation in the folder of correspondence. Sent to us, and it was copied to Bill Hill. Incompleteness review letter with things that are missing, 14 different items. It's this, with Randy not being here, I mean, is this?
Yes. And if you take a look, sunshine water issues, hang on. Somewhere, they were issues from last month that were addressed and taken care of, if I'm not mistaken. Am I? Yeah, looky here. Engineers report, land development plan for stream crossing permit, erosion control settlement control permit, stormwater, blah, 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 blah.
Can't be, because the meeting was on the 3rd, and this letter wasn't issued until the 11th.
Okay, now, upon approval, as I said on the engineer's report, did you read all of it? Upon the approval of the conditional use of stormwater design and plan will be updated to address the Penn Township Planning Commission's comments, so that the plan can be resubmitted to the Planning Commission, review and recommended for approval of Penn Township Board of Assessors. Okay, the engineer will address the township engineer's comments, if any, and the conservation district's comments, and shall redesign the stormwater infiltration gallery and resubmit the design to the township engineer, Perry County Conservation District, for review and approval. Okay?
Okay,
Does
so
that answer your question?
that's taking all of this into account.
That's the way I'm seeing it, because I have not
Okay.
read it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
assuming that should take care of it. Is that the way you see it?
I hope so.
Okay, I'm assuming there's issues and they're being addressed.
Okay.
Okay.
There's nothing that specifically addresses this in here. That. So
Let me see that. Okay, soil testing results. Where did I see that?
right in the middle.
Okay, soil testing results, that's being addressed, that's for the filtration. Okay, that's gonna take care of that. Okay, proposed calculations, okay. I'm gonna say it's pretty much. I'm gonna say basically it's a soil conservation's punch list, and the engineers addressing them according to this, is
Okay.
the way I'm seeing it.
Okay, good.
Okay, I will clarify that with them when I get a chance to talk to
Okay.
them.
Because that's, pretty substantial list.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anything else for the engineer's report? Do we want to address item number 2 on that in regards to the letter that goes
With it.
as a new business, or do you want to do it now?
Let's do it now. And Bob will say you
Hand it here.
Actman Associates.
Yeah. Right there. Okay, it's for the Curlin property. So everybody read it?
Yep.
Comments?
What's your thoughts, Sam?
Hmm?
What's your thoughts?
Did a little research. That in the sanitary sewer construction manual specifications for the developers, part 2 it says products, 2.01 says duplex grinder pump unit, semi-positive displacement type for sewer connections involving 3 or more EDUs, a duplex grinder unit shall be utilized. All right, 3 or more EDUs. He's asking for, it says a peak of 50 or 100 gallons a day. That's 1 EDU. I don't have a problem granting this waiver. I thought that line down there is very, what do I say, limited as to marginal as to what we can put on there anyway. So.
Any other comments?
What was put in down there at the Cove Market?
There was a duplex wet well simplex pump.
That's
And
what
they
I was
were-
trying to
and they
find.
were-
I thought
and
that's what it
They
was.
were charged for a simplex system. Okay?
That's what I
Because
thought.
of the amount of units that were functioning activities that were going on down there. And the ability of what can be added onto that in a dramatic complex.
I think that property is a little bit more flexible than what the
Right,
the
exactly.
one up at the.
I mean, there's very limited potential to where we're at up
Right.
here
Oh, I
in
know.
regards to this.
Mhm.
I have no problem with
I can't
simplex.
imagine that being any more than,
No, that's-
what, a half acre lot?
Up there, I don't, I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, I don't
Maybe a
think you're
little
gonna,
more.
I don't think you're gonna be able to do too much more.
Now, I mean, it's going, I see the point there. If anybody has any issues, you think it's gonna cause any problems, basically, they're gonna own the pump anyhow and the maintenance of it.
The thing is, if they need a bigger one,
That's
then it's gonna be up to them that they have to put it in.
Yep.
If they wanna gamble and put a small one in, it's not gonna affect us. You know,
I think
'cause
that'd be,
it's no money that's coming out of our, to upgrade it, you know what I mean?
I think that'd be a gamble worth taking.
You want a
For
motion
that
to grant the
property.
waiver? You want a motion to grant the waiver?
Yes, I think we ought to have a motion
Yeah.
to grant
I'll
that.
make the motion to grant the waiver.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been regularly moved and seconded that we grant a waiver for the Robert Curlin sewer extension at 1620 State Road. Any more discussion? That waiver is to address it to a simplex grinder pump. Any discussion? All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that takes care of the engineer. Anything else in the engineer's report? Okay, moving on. Operators report.
Once again, with the
Sam.
DMRs, at any point, questions, either now or later, don't hesitate. Last month I talked to you about the generator code and its constant problems. I said what I was going to do is investigate the possibility of replacing the whole controller on it. So I did that with Mr. Stevenson's generator service, people helping us to maintain it. He said, while that's a possibility, his advice would be not to do that, but to contact CAT, have them come in to see if they can determine what the problem is.
That's the manufacturer.
Yes. This problem arises every time not every time, but whenever it's in the mood and it self-exercises and shuts down after it self-exercises, it goes into a fault, which will keep it from restarting again at any time until you clear the fault. Having CAT come in, I would advise the authority that may be the next proper step, but it's going to be a song and dance between the automatically controller and their machine. It's not going to be anybody's fault. So I'm just very cynical, very disappointed. What I've determined to do in the interim is stop it exercising on its own. I clear the faults. It should start if we have a storm and the power goes off. Okay?
Can you take the automatic,
I just let it clear and did not reset it. So it's no longer going to automatically exercise.
that's what I mean.
Yes, it's-
You can disarm that,
Yeah, I did disconnect that.
okay.
Go whichever direction the authority wants to go, but the next thing to put it back into A1 condition would be go to CAT and see what they have to say, but that's going to be extremely expensive. Just want to let you know that up front.
But we can manually exercise it if we want to, right?
Yes. And then, if when I would exercise it manually and then stop it and it would go into a fault, I would clear the fault so then it was ready to go. Now, I talked to Tom about this scenario, Tom Stevenson, and he feels that that would be doable, that it should be ready to start the next time the power went out on its own, which would at least give us the reliability of it if we did have a power outage. Okay. So you can think on whatever you want to do about that, whether you want to bring CAT in to look at it. But the outside replacement for the controller, Tom doesn't feel is a good option.
Did he
They understand what you make a lot of assumptions. The generator sits out there and it's got a box in there that it looks at its temperature, its RPMs, its voltages, and any kind of fault in the generator reads out on that screen, and you get a caution alarm and then you get a stop alarm where it won't run. Inside the building is another big box. PP&L comes into it, the generator comes into it, and plant comes into it, connections. This box, this large box, is not a Caterpillar piece, okay? It is the device that senses PP&L offline. It's pretty complicated. PP&L has to be offline for 5 minutes. If it blinks on and off, on and off, on and off, it just sits there and waits. After it's off 5 minutes, it turns the generator on, then it switches the plant to the generator. When PPL comes back online, PPL has to be back online 15 minutes with no interruptions before it switches the plant back to the PPL line. Then it takes 10 more minutes of cool down time before it shuts the generator off. So you've got two different devices controlling the generator. And it appears that when this box shuts the generator back off after it exercises, the generator views it as a fault in itself and goes into this fault mode, which it should never have done. It should never have done that from day one, and it didn't always do it, but it started it shortly after it was installed. And we couldn't figure out, and then you'd reset it and it would be good for 6 months. But now it's completely unreliable in my opinion on the automatic mode. I mean, that's a long song and dance, but to explain to you that there's two pieces of equipment there,
That's right.
and we're not sure which one of them is causing the problem.
Where did that controller come from?
Lightning Electric, which had the electric contract when the plant was upgraded.
Would they be of any help with troubleshooting or not really? I don't know.
Who takes care of your controls, like Control 21 or somebody like that?
I do up to this point.
You ought to have a resource available to you, like an outside controller company, 'cause that's who you're talking about here.
That's who's gonna have to, somebody's gonna have to come in, but it should be Caterpillar to come in and testify that their piece of equipment is fine.
And of course, the
But it's-
generator's
right,
way
it's
out of
probably not their
warranty.
equipment. It's probably the automatic
Yeah.
transfer switch.
I'm guessing.
I mean, I'm
It
looking
could
for a
very well
free
be that,
visit.
yeah.
You ain't gonna get,
It's got a,
I'm thinking it
it's
was
got a
on
little
a
bit of
warning right
Irish
after
blood
the
in it,
storm,
if
so
I'm
you're
not
thinking,
mistaken.
it's
Is that where it
get
came
across
from?
the ocean.
Yeah, that should have fell off the boat on the way over. But anyhow, I wanted to bring you up to date with where we stood with that, that's all. Nothing has changed. Here's the story. We've got a temporary scenario to keep that online and somewhat reliable in case power goes out. But it's not 100%. The people that installed that, I would not have back to do anything. I would have to tell you right away, if the bathroom fan turns the fan on when you walk in, but not the light, and then you move around a while in there, the light comes on, something's wrong with this scenario.
Motion sensor.
Well, but the motion sensor works.
Well, we should turn the
But it
light on
turns the
before it
fan
turns
on
the
means
fan
you in the
on.
dark. I mean, if you can't figure out the fact that the light should come on, then the fan,
Yeah.
then I don't want you tying my shoes.
Understand that. Question here, and I don't know if you can help me out with this, operator.
Let me back up. I'm not sure it was Lightning Electric. Please don't quote me on that. It couldn't have been Signal, something in Signal.
We won't mention no
Okay,
names, how's that?
that's
We'll
good.
just leave it.
Well, I'd hate to tar and feather Lightning Electric if that's, and I don't think that's who it was. I think it was somebody in Signal.
Okay.
Sam can tell you that we had to take the exhaust fan out. And it was one thing after another like that.
Any other questions in regards to the operator's reports? Okay, I have a question. I've looked at this a couple different times over the summer here with the lot maintenance at Cove. I'll pass this around, let everybody look at that. If you look at the second page, it tells you the amount of time that occurred each month. That's not the date on the first one, that is the amount of times it was done. Okay? I'm not saying that it's not well taken care of, I'm just concerned at the amount of care that's being taken to it.
Well, you know that that's doubled because he's doing the pump station also.
Okay, I need that clarified, we do not understand it, so that price is double that?
That, and there's also, I allow him to charge one extra mowing when he sprays all the weeds around the fences.
Okay,
Those types, anything extra like that, if sometimes he has to trim the tree branches back
okay.
to be able to mow under them, I allow him to charge the $30 for mowing or whatever it is.
Okay. I was, things were,
Yeah,
going,
I understand.
and I needed a question for the justification,
Yeah.
of it, okay?
It
I mean,
isn't-
if that was just taking the mower around,
Yeah.
then there was more issues to it than met the eye, okay?
Yeah, no, well, I'm glad you asked, because it does seem like a higher amount than it should be. I mean, 8 times maybe during a month, but that would be 4, or at this plant and 4 at the pump station, different things like that, or maybe there was a
Okay,
spraying
so
for the
cove
weeds.
lot means 2 lots,
Mostly,
okay?
yes, it does,
That's, okay, the clarification is what concerned me, because I thought it was just
yeah,
one focus point,
yeah.
okay? I think that satisfies all those questions now. Because if it was, I was gonna say, if it was not satisfactory, I was gonna say we're gonna put it out next year for bidding, but,
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
I'm very happy
don't-
with that, and I would just, and due to the service that we're getting there, I don't have an issue with that.
Sam can address the mowing at the pump station better than I can, but that's pretty well maintained, just like the grass up at the plant, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Okay, it just, that there, it didn't give us answers to the, what you seen was a bunch of money going out with,
Yeah,
you know?
no, good point.
Okay, maybe that's something that, I don't know if it's wrote up or approved, maybe it could be broke out a little bit better for explanation, so it's not,
Yeah,
it's pretty bland for the,
yeah,
okay?
yeah, I just.
I'm not doubting anybody, but it just, I'm looking there and.
Yeah, if it had said pump station 4, plant 4, you would have understood that.
Yes, that would have been, okay, I just figured everything came from the treatment plant. And
Right.
you don't think about the other parts of the entities, like the pump station and all that, okay. Anything else for the operator or the report? Okay. Our field representative. And how was your month, sir?
We liked it.
Love it.
We like
Oh, yeah,
short reports. We really like them.
yeah. The only thing I have on there of note is item number 4. I noted the electrical cable on the emergency generator at the pump station in the cove is to be weathered and cracked. Internal wires are now showing. That's at the big, the welder's cable. You know which one I mean? You know what I mean? The big cable that comes from the switch over, it's laying on the ground. I think the weather is finally getting to that, and it's beating it up. We may have to look at either doing something with that. I don't know exactly what you can do with it.
Well, probably a simple thing to do with that is you could put it in a contained environment after it was checked out and made sure it's not,
Lay conduit or all, bottom of it, yeah.
because that's wired, is that wired in hard or is that plugged in inside?
It's plugged. It's plugged in. It's a welder's, a welding outlet, you know what I mean?
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
We could ask Stevenson for some advice on that if you like. He's soon due to do maintenance on those generators, I believe.
Okay, the other question would be is take a good hard look at it down there and do an evaluation on it yourself, and if you feel that it's possible, I can get a dry bit and drill high in the wall and run a piece of PVC out to the rafter of the shed, and then run it.
Well, we're talking about 2 separate places. We're talking about pump station. Down the Cove pump
Oh,
station down
okay,
by
the pump
Leonard
station, so there is no shed for that one, okay.
Yeah,
There is a shed.
There is
but
a
there's-
shed, there is a shed covering the generator. However, the cord runs all the way across the lot
Mhm,
to the telephone pole.
right,
It's laying on the floor.
The sun's gotten to it.
yeah, I understand.
Sun's-
It
It's
should have
just
been
weathered,
protected
that's
in
all
a
it is,
sleeve or
yeah.
something, yeah.
And conduit.
Should have been.
Well,
but it wasn't.
they actually, that was installed as a portable generator,
Oh,
and you were supposed to be able to take the cord off, wind it back up and move it somewhere.
oh.
It's got flat tires now, I can't move it.
It's actually not really movable because it's the only three-phase generator we have,
Right.
and it's the only three-phase location we have. So, a piece of conduit from the box to over would be a good idea, I think.
If you're interested in doing
You have
that.
to take you'd have to take the coupling apart though,
You put big
and
enough-
then rewire it to run your,
Either that or maybe get it off at the generator end.
pipe like this. To fit that plug.
When it suits, somebody give me a call, I'd let you down and look at it with you. Get a rough idea.
Tell me when you're available.
It's getting far and few and in between here lately, but.
It is. Which reminds me, did you see my latest email to you? We'll talk about it after the meeting.
Okay. I think I missed that one.
That's all I have.
Did you get the protective enclosure lowered to get to the curb valve?
No. They're just down there doing their excavating and everything, so. As long as they don't turn the pump on, they're in good shape.
Okay.
And once again, if they turn the pump on and ruin the pump, it's not our problem.
Okay, anything else for the field representative? I like the last one. I bet you that had the operator scratching his head. The amount of water at
King Corey, the water leak at King Corey.
Oh, no, it didn't have that, me scratching their head. I knew they were doing it. I just needed to get them informed. They actually were very appreciative. Because somebody had turned them on, and apparently it wasn't all going down the drains either.
No, it wasn't. No, it was on the floor and everything.
So in other words, everybody thinks that just kids are ornery. Some of these older people are just as ornery.
Well, hey, no.
Hey,
No.
I'm
What
on
was
my way
somebody?
to ornery.
What did somebody tell me one day? He says, once you get past a certain age, you revert. Yeah. You're in diapers again and all that other good stuff. So this is what's happening.
Second childhood, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And there's nothing out of the ordinary on the master meters.
Okay. Thank you, field representative. Master meters reports, they were in the correspondence.
Yeah, they're in there.
Okay, Penn Township Supervisor's report. Nobody here for that?
I do have one item
Okay.
from the meeting, which ties into old business number 3. But a question came up on that account. They're looking to put a new structure on that property, the possibility of. And the question was brought up, how would the municipal authority view that reconnection with that outstanding balance? Would they be allowed to reconnect?
Hey, it
know,
would
I'm
be
just
worth
the
it to have
messenger.
something to put a lien on.
You know.
I'm just the messenger.
Yeah, can't argue that.
Are they gonna have somebody build the structure? She's gonna do it herself, so there's no bank loans involved.
No,
or-
probably, who knows? Who knows? We'll
Thought it
find
was
that
gonna
out next
hap-
month.
All right, that was gonna happen,
You can attach it.
yeah, they'd have to clear
The house
that
is coming
lien, and
down.
the bank's not gonna be interested.
Well, and I think that's why there's not gonna be any bank involved.
Yeah, the shack to begin with, yeah. Then it has stovepipe coming up.
So just for future reference though,
Can we require that debt to be satisfied before they can build anything on there?
I would think we could.
Well,
Well-
I think, yeah, I mean, cause you could execute and sell the property, I mean, buy it.
And that was the point of the question, because that came up that when I was asked for an answer, what the municipal authorities' stand is on that, I said, I don't think we've ever had to address this before. So what if someone else comes along in a similar situation, maybe not quite as drastic as this,
Didn't you?
but, you know, what would our position be? Do we have anything in our rates, rules, and regs to cover anything like that?
Didn't you once say once the tapping fee has been paid for the property, that goes with the property?
Yeah. Yeah, but I
But the
mean,
tap
there's.
fee's not even paid.
Pardon me?
I said, but the tap fee's not even paid.
No,
Probably not
nothing's
paid
paid
in
there.
full,
But
but
that would
there's-
answer your question as to what to do in the future, though. If the property's already, if the tapping fee's already paid, then, you know, then we couldn't charge another tapping fee because it's already been paid for that property.
Right, you couldn't do that, but would you allow them, I mean, just look at number 163. I
Do
mean,
we have the ability to have the township not issue a building permit till the delinquencies is taken care of?
do you have anything
I
to
don't think-
substantiate that?
I don't think
And
there's
that's-
anything that I know of in, you know, in place that we could point to take that position. One way to look at it is, if they improve the property, they're really enhancing your lien position. I mean, they're strengthening your lien position, because we have liens. Or we'll make sure that we have them up to date. I think they are, but I can make absolutely sure of that.
Knowing the people that's involved there, I don't see that happening in my lifetime.
That they're gonna build on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either, I mean, this has been dragging on, but that possibility, like I say, is out there, even for others.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just like to see us be prepared in the event that that would happen.
Well, frankly, I don't see anything wrong with the board adopting a policy or an amendment to the rates rules, however you want to do it, that would provide that a property cannot, you know, reconnect until any existing outstanding balances or liens are paid in full. I think that's a reasonable requirement.
Think we can ask them to do that?
I think we should.
I never quite figured out as much as you.
Now, refresh my memory on that too. Had she signed a payment agreement letter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Many.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I played dumb in the meeting and asked that
Yeah.
question just because I wanted her response on record. Now, what are the implications if that is not met? If they default on that?
Well, I
She
think
already
most
has.
recently.
Well, I know
then-
she has, but what are our implications to the customer if they fail to comply?
Karen has been notifying me right away if people default on their payment agreements. And then we put them right back in the position of moving ahead with whatever the next step is, and it's typically gonna be sheriff's.
Yeah, that's what,
Right now, we need to make sure that the township is done with their issues with that complex before we can do anything else.
And they're not.
Okay, we need to make sure we get a letter from the township saying they are done with all the issues at hand pertaining to that property. At that moment, then we proceed to go back and file sheriff's sales and everything else against it like we normally do. And then put all these, go back into that process. And then once that process, because right now, they're not seeing nothing. We're in a dormant mode because we're letting the township do their thing.
And that was just extended till the end of October again.
Right?
So you're not gonna see, I mean, they're not gonna have any closure, and I'm sure they won't at the end of October, but that
But as
had
soon as
been
that
extended.
closure is done, then we can proceed to go back and start filing stuff again, because we don't wanna own something and be fighting with our own entities.
Right.
And that's why we quit all legal stuff
I think
at
we-
that point.
I think we just have to keep an eye on it.
We need to keep an eye on it, and once all those issues are addressed, and the lot is cleaned up, then we file our normal process against it and make them pay up. Or we end up owning it.
She's supposed to clean that well up by the end of the month. Is
Yeah,
that right?
2 months ago.
Technically, again, yes.
That's why I say, knowing them, it's not gonna get done in our.
I come up there, well, coming up, I can see it more than I can coming down. and it doesn't seem like there's been stone one turn.
She's been putting things in garbage bags and putting cinder blocks, wood, and putting it out for the garbage man.
Who's the guardian? Is that,
Sylvester.
we could notify Sylvester, because they don't take that kind of stuff.
Construction debris.
No.
For God's sake.
Okay.
No.
Anything else with the supervisor's report?
No, that would,
Thanks for the update.
well, you're welcome. You know about the conditional use, October 29th. We're going to address 1109, I see coming up. That they wanted to make sure that was brought to our attention.
And since you mentioned that, the man was in again. Not the man that lives at 1109. The gentleman who was complaining about 1109 was in again today. Wants to know what we are doing about it, what we plan to do about it, and if we don't do anything, he's going to the DEP.
Well, and there's a letter in here.
Absolutely.
And that was
And
acted on
Karen-
last week.
And Karen showed him that letter.
Okay, because I was gonna say, that was voted on last week, that Lenny be allowed to take a sample down there to make sure
Yep.
exactly what they are dealing with. So if he comes in again, the process has been started.
Yep.
But they were the only three things I had. Thank you. But I do think Dennis should draft something so that if we are faced with this situation again, because I was asked, what is our position on that? And we really don't have anything to.
I can agree with that.
I mean, because the township's forcing them to backfill the vacant tank
Mhm.
and clean up the site.
Right,
And if we'd have turned around and took it over, then we would have been liable for all of it.
right.
Okay, and that's the reason why we quit going in the direction we were, because
Yeah.
we've been in enough trouble with that already. We did it once, we don't need to do it again.
Yeah, it won't be a big undertaking to do a draft amendment.
Okay.
Thank you.
The house that Doc Fouts built on Eisenhower Boulevard for his father, 50,
I don't know what it is, 52 or something like that.
do you know who lived there?
Who's there now?
Who lived there?
No.
No, I didn't know.
Well, I think they moved out on us.
They did. Oh, they moved out on us?
I think they moved out.
Oh, they did?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what kind of money was owed on that or not, but I injected because of Dennis, if Dennis has to, I don't know who it was, so I can't tell from the report whether they were in arrears or
Is that,
who even they were.
is that up above Dominiani's house?
Yeah.
One up on the left, yeah, okay.
Yeah, two above.
Yeah, I don't know who that
There's
is.
two houses right there. The first one Husses live in,
Mm-hmm,
that's the newer of the two, and then it's the
Right.
one above that.
yeah.
Yeah, they moved out there about 2 weeks or so ago.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure, but I did notice it and thought I'd bring it to your attention in case they were owing you money.
Is it up for sale?
Not that I'm aware
No,
of.
it does sound
There
like-
appears to be no sign there.
Well, did they own that, or did they rent that from Sue,
Becky,
yeah, Becky, or?
I don't.
No, we bill the owners, and
Okay.
there've been different owners over the years.
Okay.
Yeah, that was sold, the folks sold that years ago.
Oh, did they? Okay. I'm glad they moved, because I kept picking up stuff that blew down on my place. on my place.
Yeah, they were. Well, that's how I knew they moved. The yard was cleaned up some.
No, that's true. That's absolutely true.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm not really wanting to tell people how to live, but that's what drew my attention.
Okay. Anything else? You're up, Mr. Solicitor.
Yeah, the letter A there, maintenance agreement for joint use sewer lateral, that's just, well, I guess we've been referring to it as Owen and Moore. Owen sold the property. We were able to catch up to the realtor, and what the realtor did was had the new owner, or the buyer, Jeffrey Davidson, execute the common sewer line agreement at the closing. So obviously he was well aware of the situation. He did sign it, his signature is notarized. So everybody is now signed except the authority. I'll need the authority to sign, and then the chairman's signature will have to be notarized, which I guess Helen could do. I'll leave it with you, Henry, if I could, and then you'll sign the board secretary here, which could be done now, because yours is the one notarized, and she can notarize it here. And then you folks could record it or send it to me to get it recorded, whichever.
Okay, so it goes up to county then?
It goes
Well,
up
that's
to
true,
county.
okay.
Is Owen still coming after us for that?
I haven't heard anything in response to my letter to his lawyer, that we weren't interested in paying anything. I really don't think,
Yeah.
Who's the secretary?
I don't remember who it is now.
Sam, are you secretary?
I'm the assistant secretary.
Yes,
Elmer?
Mr. Nom.
Elmer's secretary.
And then you can get it to Helen, if you would,
Across from
somebody.
Across from Henry.
Across from Henry. Right
The other item on here is this
Right here?
Morrison
Yeah.
dedication document. Evidently, the county had an issue with recording this. They don't like it being called a deed of dedication. As opposed to an easement. I have the original here. I'll get that straightened out and we get it recorded. There's no reason that can't be recorded. I'm just gonna have to talk to the recorder of deeds and get it figured out.
Okay.
This, could somebody get that to Helen to notarize then? Henry's signature?
Pass that down to Sam because I'm gonna be off
She
tomorrow.
would do it here on the last, well, she'll see.
Show me what it's at.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's familiar.
And
with
the
that.
settlement company sent us a check for the
Cover
amount
the recording.
to cover the
Man, I'll
recording,
tell you what,
$38.
we Didn't even ask for that.
Yeah.
We're happy to be able to get the thing in a recordable form. The other thing are the delinquencies. This just was a horrible month, so I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. There are 2 on the sale list now. We did get those filed, and there's gonna be more. The 2 that we had last month that were actually filed, we had trouble serving one guy who's in Philadelphia. That's where he lives. So I had to end up getting a process server down there to serve him. The Perry County Sheriff called me and said, we can't get the Philadelphia County Sheriff to cooperate with us when we deputize him. Which, no big shock there, probably. You can imagine what that office must be like.
Okay, I have a question on some of these delinquencies in regards to where we're heading. On the sewer, number 91 or 605 on the water,
Okay.
okay? This has been a cat and mouse game with them,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Quit making payment after sheriff's sale stops. Up top, where you want up top?
No, 60, would you say 605?
605 on the water
Oh.
and 91 on the other one.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Oh.
What I'm trying to say is balance due. Or the
They-
sheriff's sale don't stop.
Right, they want the sheriff's sale to stop, they gotta pay up. That's,
Well,
and
my personal opinion
Because they're-
is,
this-
once we put them up for sheriff's sale, we gotta get balance due, no
Yep.
payments anymore, we've been burnt too many times on payments, I'm sorry.
Well, one problem though, Sam, is that I can only, the sheriff, the county only lets you execute on 1 lien or judgment number. Okay, so if they pay that off,
Okay,
I have to stop, and the costs, I have to stop the sale.
alright,
The only way to avoid that would be to file a separate execution on every lien we have. Then we're gonna be fronting $750 like 5 times or
yeah.
on some of these, and I really, what I've been doing is making it clear to them when they'll call and say, how much do I need to pay to stop the sale? I'll say, well, here's what you have to pay to stop the sale. This is the lowest number, and that's the balance due on the lien we executed on, plus all the costs and counsel fees. And then I'll say, but we're gonna be right back here again unless you clear the rest of these liens. In some cases, we've gotten that done, particularly when banks have stepped up and done it. But there's no, that's the problem.
Yeah.
But as far as the lien itself that we execute on, I agree with you 100%. That has to be paid in full, or we don't stop anything. Kelch, I don't remember if they are on my list now. If they aren't, they will go on. I don't know when they stop making payments, because Karen will tell me. when
It's
they
been a
do.
while.
Oh, it has? Well, then they're probably on my list. I just need to get them filed.
We need to stop this, we need to clean them up 100%, make it a good example on them, and then
Okay.
see where we go. And then,
Yeah, they've been on this list for as long as it's been.
Well,
on.
this would be at least 10 months worth there,
Yeah,
10, 11
okay.
months.
Yeah, and there's a number of other ones, including the big one there,
Mhm.
800, 163, that I just gotta get the paperwork up there. Sandy was the one that's in Philly that was filed, and, who's the other one? Smith.
on the backside.
On the back.
Chad.
And what was the first one?
Zandy, it's,
Oh, 1024.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives in Philly. Apparently he has a couple of properties up this way.
He bought a bunch of them at the tax sale.
Okay.
Jeez. Oh, my God.
Very good.
Never paid anything.
Oh,
I
my
don't, why is the water up so much? I see the water's up.
Well, they paid anything.
Huh? No, but I mean, not them, just the total accounts on the back of the page. The water's up almost double.
What do they do, come up in Philly and then hide?
12,000 overdue.
I'll do that.
Increase.
Does that seem right, Susan?
Oh,
I think because of 163 and 800. That's what jacked it up.
Well, I gave her the newest report, unless something happened on her. Unless something happened when you're, pasting and whatever, it could be. I could go down and look, but I'll check into that.
It just seems odd that,
Well, this was the end of a quarter now,
okay.
and you wouldn't have heard it since, well, no, she
Yeah,
puts
it's
them on every
essentially
month.
doubled.
She puts them on every month, so,
Doubled.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right, because I got last month's here.
Okay, I will do that.
So it's right.
Well,
And last month, the water was down by a little over 1,000, and now it jumps up almost 9,000.
Which doesn't make sense. There's something going on there. There's a mistake there.
unless maybe the smaller delinquencies that are under 180 weren't added in before.
Well, that's $11,293. So there's another 6,000, which would make sense of all of the.
They'd still be delinquent, I guess.
Let me take a
All
look.
right.
There's something going on there.
And that, oh, my God.
And I'll get these moving. We'll get to particularly the big ones. I'll emphasize those.
Anything over $1,000.
Yeah.
There's 43 up there.
Yes, that's on my list.
I think we ought to own that place and then tear it down.
I won't get any money for it then.
I don't care.
You should have heard what I heard about that place today.
Well, nothing would surprise me, Sam, nothing. And I did Meals on Wheels there.
Mhm.
Which one? Which number?
43.
When you come down off the ramp in Duncannon, the one that had the tarp right at the, when you came off the ramp.
Yep.
That's owned by, I think that's in an estate.
It is.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, is that in really bad
Oh,
form?
Let's just say you wouldn't wanna go in and sit down.
let's just say you wouldn't wanna go in.
I wonder if they're still running an extension cord back to the
Oh, God.
trailer that's back there.
No, because they don't have any electric.
Huh?
They don't have any electric in the house.
Did they shut them
I
down?
think that's all.
Did they really?
Mhm. No water, no electric.
Oh, really?
How can anybody be living in there?
That was my question.
That's a codes violation.
That's my question.
Well, is there somebody living in there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Was it Duncan or Penn Township?
Penn Township.
well, do they have it rented to somebody, you
That's
think?
Duncannon sort
Is
of
that
water.
someone that's in the state, or is it the
It's
daughter?
family.
Oh, it's
That's
family?
what I thought.
Where's that?
There's two places in the township we have a codes violation of people living with no electric, no water, no heat.
Oh, they do, yeah, but water comes.
Water goes in, Duncan, yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sitting there looking at it.
All right.
It's getting late, I know.
Okay. Keep on them, Dennis. I don't know what else,
I'll get some action.
okay? That's all you have?
And to go back with the Morrison deed of dedication, I know this is out of place, but I got the Mylar copies for the drawings and the new, the 2 sets of paper drawings for the extension.
Okay,
So it is in. We
Things
got
are-
everything, we got everything in there.
Things are dribbled in.
Yeah.
I think one of these days, now that we're allowed, I'm gonna stop in and take a look at the manhole and see how that works up the top of the hill.
I don't think you're gonna see anything, because they haven't used any water.
No?
For the last, no, it's the same reading. Same reading for the last, 3 months, 4 months that I've been reading it.
Dennis, do you have any outgoing, any bills for him?
Takes a lot of flushing to get 1,000 gallons.
Morrison?
No.
I believe-
Nothing that wouldn't have already been.
So the wet one,
submitted.
we only run one every 3 weeks.
I don't even think it's gonna do that.
There should be very little, I mean, if anything.
Well, see, the thing was, he only has $40 in his
Oh.
escrow account.
He's got
But
that.
I wasn't going to send him a letter. We know he's not gonna replenish it. According to the engineer, he thinks he's done with the billing. So if next month there is no billing from the engineer, then we'll send the $40 back.
Okay, I have one, going through the things here. I have one concern on incoming correspondence, and I made the mistake, and I apologize for it. Jumping ahead with the engineer's report, and we made the motion for the Curlin property. I would like to amend that motion that everybody made to say contingent upon recommendations or recommendations from our engineer, because he has critiqued it right here. You understand what I'm trying to say?
As long as the mover and second that's
Okay.
right.
I know, I hate to say that, but,
We'll just say that to the original motion.
Fine. So,
okay, understand, developer, okay, basically what he recommends on this, I'd like to see adhered to. Engineer's comments or whatever. you
Subject.
say. Subject engineer's comments, you understand what I'm saying? Amend that for that.
That's fine.
That way it covers whatever the engineer looked at it.
Do you want the date, you have the date, do you have that letter, Susan, or do you want the date of it?
I don't know, do I need it?
24th, it was
September
stamped.
23, it's dated. Bill Hill's letter. Yeah, you received it here on the 24th.
Yeah, but my understanding of the way the motion worked would be that it's contingent upon him now looking and making sure that the grinder pump can be a simplex.
Mhm.
Okay.
But Randy has made comments on that whole
Okay.
scheme. And I wanna make sure they're all incorporated in it
Yeah.
to go with that grinder pump.
That's usual.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Not really, my head's very fuzzy. If you pass that to me, I'll see You want some of this stuff in
I
the,
wanna make sure that that stuff's being addressed with that.
His wife's
Motion.
still all right, isn't she?
In other words, the approval of it being a simplex is also conditioned on him addressing the engineer's comments.
Right.
Okay.
oh, okay.
Okay,
Addressing engineer comments. I understand that.
okay,
All right.
because you're kind of approving one thing, but
Yep.
if he just gets the approval, he goes out and throws the grinder pump in, don't put none of the other stuff, then that covers us right now. And when I talked to Bill Hill today, he encouraged me to make that statement that way, and I apologize for missing that.
Okay.
Alright, so we got sewer drawings from Mellon Associates, okay, that's not for the, that's for Richmond, okay. I see we got a letter from, where are you at? Okay, I'm going through these, but anyhow, let's go with the treasurer's report, I'm sorry. That's what I caught up with the engineer there, that's why, okay. Treasurer's report, delinquent accounts, I think we kind of already took care of them, right? Monthly invoices. Spend a lot of money this week, this month, Susan?
Well, some of these you signed last month at the meeting or at the JOAC meeting or the Duncannon Borough for the Market Street one was a result of the,
Move to pay the September bills in the amount of $87,460.77.
Second.
Been regularly moved and seconded to pay the bills. Any discussion? All those in favor, please consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, financial report. Question for you, Susan.
yes,
A while back, we had a discussion and issues with Mr. Beamer. I'm assuming everything's paid up, straightened up with him?
well, he's still paying his $400 and Karen's keeping a record. I'll be honest, I can't tell you how many more
Okay.
$400 he needs to pay.
Okay.
But he did make another payment this month. He makes one every month.
Okay. That's what brought up to my attention, I see his name here. Any questions, any comments?
Marysville Bank didn't have the interest online today, so I couldn't update this. Or yesterday, I did these yesterday.
I'm sure it's massive.
That 150,265 for Sunshine Hill Water Upgrade, was that,
That's how much you have left.
that's how much we have left?
So far this year, you've spent 65,000. And every time you spend money, like down on the bottom, the outflow, then I subtract it from what's left. You had originally put 230,000, let's say, in 2012, and, you know,
So we're down to 150,265.
right. And 91,000 of that was engineering.
And
I was asked last month by Henny to get the amount of engineering fees that we've put on that, and Sam also asked me, and I'll be honest, I didn't make anybody else copies, and now I don't even know what I did with mine,
It's all right, I can give clarification on that if everybody wishes.
but,
That was, there was a discussion in regards to it being 10% of the approximate offer of the cost of the project, okay? I did research and got a reply back on them. It is over that point, but we must consider that all the engineering is done for all the phases of the water project at the present moment. So there's extra cost in there.
Okay.
Okay, it's
All right.
already addressed for all the phases.
I see.
So there's more money, okay, so it's a little higher than what it should be just for what we're thinking about on the hill, which is similar to what
our operator's been discussing with the phases. We gotta keep an open mind that this is a complete project that's broke out in
Yeah.
phases, and the engineer's dressing it as such. And that's where these extra small costs are coming out by the phases.
But if we don't get any more money, we only have $150,000 to start the project with right now. Is that right?
Well, you have that, plus you have $207,000 in your in capital reserve.
Oh.
That's over on the left.
Basically, all of the
Where is it
projects
at now?
need to stop till we figure out.
We
where
still have
we're
the
at.
county money though.
Oh, that's right, we do.
Yeah, we have
I
that,
forgot about that.
whatever you
Yeah.
and Ed were there for
That's
in
right,
that
we have
first year.
200,000.
so-
Okay, I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
But I would think that
All right.
until we get a couple more bucks saved up somewhere for next year or something, we need to sit on that money and see where this job's over. I'm not saying there's gonna be any overruns, I'm just saying that when you got a project this size,
Anything can happen.
$100,000 ain't much to live on or cover anything that's unexpected, okay?
That's right, I forgot we had.
I'm not a,
All right.
The
Move to
first
accept the
50.
finan, move to accept the financial, no?
Okay.
Nope, I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ed. Nah.
The first, just a reminder, and probably not anything you guys aren't already thinking about, but there's a time frame on the first 54,000 and on the second 150,000, or 146,000, that you have to use it by. Now, we were reassured that we could bank the first 50, I'm rounding the numbers,
Yep.
that we didn't have to use it in the time frame they said we had to use it in. But let's make sure that we pay attention to the time frames, that we don't get in trouble. Remember, we got about 200,000 now up there for fire protection, which all could go towards the
Yep,
tower.
yep.
But there was a time frame you had to use them by.
Yeah.
But they allowed us to not use the first one because we were gonna bank it with the second one to get enough together to do something with.
Right.
And so we need to pay attention to those timeframes. I'm sure you guys are. It's
Well,
just
maybe
that I
it'd be a
can't-
good thing to call the county and make sure we're not getting close here, because that could be a dictating factor in how we proceed with this.
Yeah. And
You
what
might
else
wanna
do you get?
spend that first if you need to.
Yeah.
Now, my question, not to interrupt Sam, you said we spent 91,000 in engineering on Sunshine Hill Water.
Total complex.
Okay. I'm looking at the project reserve outflow breakdown, and that's only showing 65,000.
That's this year.
Okay.
And
you're
a lot of
talking-
that is not engineering fees. There were all the regular fees from DEP, and Dennis had a couple fees,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, but the 91,000 is not reflected just in
No,
this
it was-
budget year, that's
I was
total.
asked to date
Oh, okay,
from
all right.
2012 on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you okay with the financial report?
Yeah, that answers the question.
Okay, we had a motion on that, right?
I made the motion to accept the financial report subject to audit.
And it was seconded?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Opposed? Okay, executive secretary's report. I didn't see any. Is there one?
No, this was a really bad, your meeting is the
The
very
very
first
first.
day of the month. It's also the end of the quarter, and the sewer
I
bills and water
kinda
bills
thought
had to
maybe
be
things
out.
were a little out of sequence and I didn't see nothing
was-
listed or anything.
It was just
today.
awful. We just,
Yes.
yeah, we've gone through
Okay.
3 bad days here.
JOAC meeting October 13th, 6:30, here at the Municipal Authority Building. Incoming, outgoing correspondences. Okay, a couple things I've been looking through here. I see Pannoni sent a letter to Stone Mill Estates, attention to Mr. Yanks, in regards to effectively, they are prohibiting from accessing any and all borough sewer facilities. This action is a direct result of an incident related to a sewer televising and flushing which occurred in borough facilities earlier this month. And it goes on to explain more consequences of it, okay?
They all, those folks also got a verbal from Penn Township Municipal Authority stating not to lift lids unless they get permission.
From both entities.
from both entities, yes.
So, I think basically everybody's a little upset for not being informed about the issues at hand. Other than that, I don't see too much more around in here. And then we sent a letter also to Stone Mill Estates in regards to doing the same thing, the sewer lines. So they've been informed by both entities by a written letter. They need to communicate. Okay?
They haven't been to a meeting for a long time.
Yeah. I see they got their hands full down in Murrayville. They're busy digging and carrying on down there. Yep. Right there by where the old Big B is. Up in behind there.
Pass that down to me. I'm going to take them home with me whenever I do the minutes. I'm just gonna take that with me, because,
These are very valuable at the present moment, what's in there. I agree with you, Susan.
well, I don't know that it's very valuable, but that
Well, it's
Pannoni
good for
one,
the
I'd like
minutes.
to.
I can understand that.
What did I tell you I think I'm missing? Oh, that paperwork. Did you find that from your last meeting? Doesn't matter, I don't even remember what it was. Let's just keep the meeting rolling and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
It was some,
Yes, there was something.
it was a copy of my check.
Periodic, no, I don't think it was a copy of your check. Periodical circulating, everybody take a look at that. Okay. CGBG grant.
When you have, when you want Karen to talk to Amy about what the update of the status might
Is that what
be,
you're looking for?
that's what I'm looking for. Thank you. Yep, there's my copy of the check. You're a sweet man.
Oh, you started to say old.
I know.
Oh,
Well, that
boy.
was just, you know, and I know you're not old. Could we have her ask Amy about how this works with the first two grants? Would Amy know that kind of thing?
I'm gonna say it's gonna be the county more than anybody, because that
Okay.
came from the county level before she was around.
Okay,
Am I
all right.
correct, Sam?
I'll
I
have
think
her,
so.
I'll have Karen get in touch with
Yeah, because that
county.
came with Omar Syed.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Long ma-
The one good thing about this now is we do have a current survey that's good for a couple years now.
Yes.
I'm hoping.
I'm hoping to.
I asked her,
I
I
sure-
asked Amy the same
Yeah.
question, and she said it depends.
'Cause
What?
I can,
Yeah, I'm serious.
I can tell you, after that was a punishment in its half.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty
Okay.
hot some of those days too.
Okay, ownership of grinder pumps.
Do you think we're gonna take that off of there, or just let them on there, or what?
I think there was a discussion in regards to come the beginning of the year, all grinder pumps get turned over. Am I correct? Or,
That was an email that I had sent out, yes.
okay, does anybody, puts opinions in regards to that instead of just the delinquent ones?
Well, everybody's got my opinion of it.
I mean, I don't have an issue with it either way. Sooner or
What do we gotta
later,
do
sooner or
now?
later, these things will be faded out, and I said, we're gonna be responsible for, I mean, the only thing you are doing is being a little bit more respectable for the people that have been loyal and paid their fees reliably and are the good customers, okay? That's the only fringe benefit they're getting out of this. With that being said, I realize it's an extra cost to us. Same atmosphere, if those people are diligently, I mean, what else do you got to reward somebody that's a good paying customer?
And they're not gonna be your ones to be abusing the system either.
Most
You
of the
know,
time,
to-
you are correct, okay? I mean,
What's the cost to replace, what's the top end cost to replace anything in there? In other words, the pump goes out and has to be totally replaced.
right now, Lanker charges you $1,600 before he comes and replaces the pump. to tear
16,
yours
I thought.
apart. Ain't it 1,600? 1,600, come in, pull the pump, put a temporary one in, so he takes that and rebuilds that and evaluates it, and then come back, okay? With our situation as an authority, we could supply the extra pumps at the present moment, because we have them around, am I correct?
We have them.
And even if Mr. Lanker was the one replacing them, that would be a cost that would be incurred from us at the time being, okay? Now, this is a cost to the authority, and I understand that.
What do they run, they have $3,500?
That includes the wet well,
Okay.
Or what, brand new, probably 27,
somewhere in there.
just for the pump, take and give, I would imagine. So, I don't have an issue with turning them all over.
Think about it.
Like I said, the
See
same,
what we're spending, you look at your budget reports, see what we're spending on pump maintenance, and then go back to that little formula that we put together. I can't remember what it is anymore.
I think
But if you
it's,
go
I
back to
think
that
it's
formula,
$10 for, what is it, for $50,000, you can drop $5 on it.
something
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
that's right.
And we got a lot of money in pump maintenance, so we can drop sewer rates.
If we, that would be the other reward for those people, the delinquent people would still be paying out. You know, they ain't gonna pay $5.
That's something to think about whenever we're doing the budget.
That's one way to.
We're getting close to that, and,
Yeah.
you know, playing the devil's advocate, do I wanna spend $1,600 on a pump, or pay $5 less a month? I'm
What's the
just playing the
limit?
devil's advocate.
Put your $5 in
You
a
understand where I'm
cookie
going.
jar someplace, and there you got it.
I'm just, you know,
You know.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, Jim, and I can appreciate that, because I know what you're doing. You know, I know how you're doing it, but, you know, that's something that we have to look at too.
I think before we would do that, I think we need to fully disclose this to all our customers, what it would cost. If
Oh, I know.
we're turning them over, here's what it's gonna cost. Top end, if that pump quits, or you damage it, or you know, do whatever.
Well, here's something else you gotta look at too. There are other, service people out there. Alright? What's to say I have to go with Linker, you know? I can go with somebody else, you know? But,
But here again, you know, if I was a minor pump, who would I call? You know,
who do they call? They open the door and there's a phone number, a 1-800 number in that phone, in that control panel.
okay.
Alright? They call that 1-800 number, you know who they call? They call Lanker. They call Lanker because Lanker is the area representative.
So Lanker gets all the business, basically.
If you call that 1-800
Well,
number.
yeah, but if I look in the yellow pages, am I gonna find somebody? I mean, I don't know, I'm just asking the
Well,
question.
yeah, you could probably find, I'm thinking you could even go with, just to pick another one that we've used in the past, Earl Moss.
Okay, let me ask you this. So I'm a ratepayer. I turn around and I decide, okay, fine. Bunch of the ratepayers get together, they all pitch in, just say 16 of them all pitch in $100 or whatever, and they turn around and they keep themselves an extra grinder pump around. And then when they go bad, they can turn around and do it themselves. I know you ain't gonna do that, but I guarantee you, I'd probably be doing something like that.
We don't have to do it,
No.
luckily.
What's the numbers of the total rate payers? Over here we got the grinder pumps, and over here we have
Gravity?
gravity. What's the numbers? Did we have those? In other words, is it
It's roughly 2/3 to 1/3
2/3 which way?
gravity,
Grinder
1/3 gravity.
1/3 gravity, 2/3 grinder pumps.
There's 200 some odd grinder pumps down there.
Okay. I couldn't remember the numbers anymore, that's why I just asked
Yeah.
the question.
But I send out 500 bills.
Well, then how many you got 100 and some odd people here, it's on, more than 100 and some odd people here, how many you got up in, so there's 83 up on Sunshine Hill. Alright, you got Petersburg Commons, they're all gravity, you got Lower Duncannon, they're all gravity. You got these folks out here, they're all gravity, alright? But then you got everybody that's on the other side of the mountain, everybody down that way, with the exception of Susquehanna Hills, is
Oh, that's right.
is
And a few
grinder.
of them have.
and a few of them have grinder pumps.
Yeah.
And there's one sitting right out back here too that has a
Okay.
grinder pump. So, yeah.
What I'm thinking is, if let's say we would put a letter out in December that this is what we're gonna do, and here's all the dynamics. January's meeting, that place is gonna be full,
No doubt in my mind.
so, just food for thought. I mean, I know what, I know what we're spending,
Mhm.
so.
What's the life
This
expectancy?
is, this municipal, you check it out, this municipal authority is one of the very few who maintains the grinder pumps. Duncannon doesn't do it, Marysville doesn't do it. Camp Hill doesn't do it. We are the only one in the area that doesn't. I'm just,
No.
Okay,
And
we
I
can
would-
discuss that.
Okay,
Leave it on your list.
I've got a question.
Okay.
What's the life expectancy on a grinder pump?
depends on what you put in it.
Under normal conditions?
Depends on what you put in it. I got grinder pumps down there in Perdix that from day one, we have never serviced them, not done anything to them. And they sit there and they just run and run and run and run. We have other grinder pumps down there that we've replaced 3 and 4 times.
Some of them are E1s too, aren't they?
They're all E1s down there. Majority, I shouldn't say that. The majority of them are all E1s down there.
But in general, I mean, do they last 20 years? Do they last?
That's a good question. I don't know.
You should get
I don't know.
minimum 15, I'd say somewhere between 15, I'd treat it like a water pump, same service, 15 to 25 years, okay?
Because I was gonna say, we don't wanna come right up to the edge of that window.
Mm.
Say it's 10 years and we approach the edge of the window, and then say, guess what, you're taking over your grinder pumps, and next year they
Yeah.
fail.
See, that's what I'm
You know?
afraid of. That's where I'm getting at right now. I mean,
Well, those grinder pumps down there have been in 15
The only
years.
problem is we got is once you turn everything over, there ain't nobody gonna wanna pay for the tapping fees and stuff, they're gonna be the ones that are neglected on that's gonna be the end of them. They're done.
They haven't been in, with 7 or 8 years?
2006
Six.
Eight.
So it's 8
was phase
years.
1.
6,
Yeah.
well, 10, almost 10 years.
You know what I'm saying? We're probably gonna have a hard time getting those tapping fees back, and they're, how many thousand present moment? Tapping fees.
35?
What about it?
How many what's our outstanding on tapping fees?
I don't know, I have the correspondence over here.
on the outstanding on tapping fees,
No,
Thirty
the
thousand.
majority of those tapping fees,
30,000.
we already have, we have liens and we
Yeah,
have
we already have-
documentation
yeah.
to say if they don't pay them after a 20-year period, we can take action on them and get the money.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay, that's separate, I'm sorry, I stand corrected on that. You are right, that is separate on our process of evaluation.
But I honestly think we beat this enough tonight. We can think
Okay.
about this later on.
Think about it, digest it, I appreciate what Sam put out there, okay?
And on a positive note, you lost ownership of one this week.
Somebody bought?
Yes, Gavner sold their property,
Okay.
and the new owner is aware
All right.
that they're in charge.
Okay. Long-range plan projects.
Yeah,
Um,
Jackie Gavner or whatever.
I think we're pretty well established on that, where we're gonna be spending money for the next 4 or 5 years, but we can look ahead a little bit more if we wish to do anything in regards to that too, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we ought to wait till we see if we get money or not before we do that,
I-
I think. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
I think we could spend as much as we could spend, right now, long-range plans, I think we did write up enough of a logbook right now. The hill's pretty much it. I don't see anything else that's gonna become a major emergency, unless somebody else sees something. I'll just throw something out that maybe in the future, the only thing I would suggest, and we probably should, before they paved it, is on the lower side of Burley there, we probably should have put a tap in, come up along that side. Anytime we missed that in the river there, because that was a,
Okay.
you know what I'm talking about? Well, that should have been done for the road bridge instead of the asphalt, but we didn't have the ability to do that, because that was a short-term hit, that came all about in a matter of overnight, so. Okay, septic tank abandonment 1109, that's being addressed. Am I
It is
correct?
being addressed, and if you remember correctly, last month we asked Karen to go through the files to find out how many more of them is. She told me there's a stack of them in there, there's quite a few of them. She's taken them out, she's copied every one of them. I've suggested she takes them down and gives them to the Penn Board of Supervisor Secretary for them to have their SEO look at and do the same thing.
Evaluate them. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, new business. Joyce Hand.
She said there's a letter in there.
In that folder, and it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. And number 2, it's already been taken care of. We already took care of number 2.
That's correct.
I don't know why, I forget what's in the correspondence there about that. That was in regards to,
Oh, she was gonna go to a holding tank now. I mean, this whole thing is just,
yeah.
For the last, what was it, 3 days? About 3 days, the last 3 days, the young lady over here in this other office has been wearing my cell phone out with questions and comments about this.
I'm in the dark, what is it? Hand?
And, yeah, I'm sorry.
What is it?
She wants to put
She,
a taco.
Dos Chicas, the ones put the taco stand down at DeCoven.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, basically, there's not a whole lot we're gonna do here. It's pretty much in the hands of the supervisors at the present moment, because she's gotta have written permission from DEP to connect to the system. And some other stuff, and if she wishes to go through a holding tank, she has to go through the sewage enforcement, DEP, and the approval of the township. So, basically, she has a lot of things to go through before she's even gonna address anything in regards to that. And probably by that time, he'll be online. And this could all become a moot issue, you know? So, really, there's not much we're gonna do with her. Okay, any other new business?
You just said taco lady, I don't know who you meant.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Beginning of this year, I stated I'd be here 12 to 18 months. I'll stay past the 12, but there's going to be an extreme rate increase that I feel to warn you about is only fair. Okay? So, you're obviously still, I don't want to say still welcome because it's like I had a choice, but that's what's going to happen. And if you want to pursue somebody else more stringently than you have, then be forewarned. That's all.
Would you be able to give us a rough idea?
Almost double.
Maybe we better sell the grinder pumps.
I'm not, I don't.
You're gonna have another water treatment plant to operate, right?
Yeah. There's, that's what I'm anticipating, and I feel it's only fair to warn you in that.
I don't see
Very
you.
fair.
I don't see a phone number.
No, that's what Bob said.
And I said almost,
I
but
don't see a flow meter.
it's gonna be pretty close to that. So,
This looks to be a
to help you
typical,
make your
typical
decisions.
duplex E1.
I don't wanna wait till January and submit a bill. Okay?
Okay.
No problem.
and I will start working on the budget. It's just not gonna happen, in the
And
next
if he
2
says
days.
he's gonna put all the control panels in that brick building, we gotta put a.
Was there a decision made, this man can't do anything until he pays the connection permit, or gets a connection permit?
Escrow permit.
Well, no, we have escrow, that's different, that just lets the engineer and all that, but in order to dig, he's got to decide how many EDUs at $3,500 an EDU, and he needs to have that, he has to have the connection permit before he can actually do the digging,
That is correct.
okay? It has, nothing's been addressed on that,
That's correct, it hasn't.
so,
Make sure the engineer addresses him. Upon the engineer's approval of the plan, he needs to make sure the engineer needs to be brought up to speed for, he needs to have his EDUs and permit things.
yeah, because isn't that the way it works, they need to have a connection permit before they can dig,
Mm-hmm.
that little white card.
So that's gonna need a revision on these. So that'll be another delay.
Now, was there some talk of some kind of a waiver or some kind of an agreement? Remember, didn't he ask for some type of a payment installment plan?
Oh,
I think you're gonna, that's something he's gonna have to discuss, because, and if he wishes to do that, that's gonna be his problem, because I think the loan should be taking care of all that.
What, who should?
The loan that he's getting should take care of all
Oh,
that.
okay, all right, I
As far
understand.
as I'm concerned, I think that's how that was addressed, and I think that's how we discussed it a long time ago. It's
Okay.
not our job to become a financial institution, okay? Our job is to do the job and get the ratepayers
Right, understand.
no financial burden.
Yep.
Okay, is there anything else to be brought before this board this evening?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this?
on the adjournment?
All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
That was a yes.
This has gotta be a record.
It is.
8:55.
It is for me.
8:55, I'm proud of you, Mr.
Very good.
I thought it was gonna go a little faster, but it didn't quite,
And
things.
My email addresses, the one that I sent you, that I asked you about,